Welcome back, everyone. If you saw parts 1 and 2, you already know how a wide-angle lens can capture breathtaking, sweeping landscapes and add serious edge to your portrait photography. Today, for part 3, we are bringing the wide-angle indoors. We are talking about real estate and architectural photography. When shooting interiors, the wide-angle lens is your absolute best friend. It opens up tiny spaces and makes grand rooms look epic. But if you aren't careful, it can also warp a room into a funhouse mirror. Today, I'm going to show you how to shoot interiors with drama, handle tricky lighting, and process them for that massive wow factor. First things first, the golden rule. Keep your camera level. When you are shooting at 14mm or 16mm, the moment you tilt your camera up or down, your walls are going to start falling backwards or forwards. This is called converging verticals. Always use a tripod. Use the built-in level on your camera or a hot shoe bubble level. If you need to see more of the ceiling or the floor, just raise or lower the center column of your tripod. Don't tilt the lens. Now let's talk about the biggest challenge in real estate, windows. You want to see the beautiful room, but you also want to see the view outside. You can't capture both in a single exposure. We need drama, and to get that, we need HDR. Just like Serge Romelli does with his incredible Paris architectural shots, we are going to shoot brackets. Set your camera to auto exposure bracketing AEB. I usually shoot 3 to 5 exposures, ranging from very dark to save the highlights outside, to very bright to bring out the shadows in the room's darkest corners. When framing, don't just stand in the doorway and snap. Shoot from the corners to make the room look as large as possible. And use your wide-angle distortion to your advantage. Let the furniture act as leading lines. Because the wide angle exaggerates foreground objects, place something interesting, like the corner of a coffee table or a nice chair, in the foreground to lead the viewer's eyes straight into the depth of the room. Shooting is only half the battle. In Photoshop, we are going to merge those brackets. We'll pull down the highlights to bring back the view outside and open up the shadows. Then, we add some dodging and burning, brightening the center of the room and adding a bit of vignette to the edges. This creates that cinematic contrast that makes people stop scrolling. Let's start with an example of this HDR method. Then, to show you just how powerful this wide-angle HDR workflow can be, let's look at an extreme example from a shoot I did at the Grand Canyon. Let's start with the most common challenge in residential real estate. Look at this living room. We have dark shadows creeping into the corners by the fireplace, directly competing with the blazing Arizona sun outside. By shooting a bracketed sequence, a fast, dark shot to capture the crisp landscape outside the glass, and a slower, bright shot to capture the shadows in the room, we gather all the light data we need. When we merge these files into a 32-bit super negative and apply tone mapping, the software compresses the blazing highlights of the sky and lifts the shadows in the room. Look at the balance. The interior is warm and well lit. The view through the glass is crisp and colorful, and there are no unnatural radioactive halos around the window frames. But what happens when you aren't fighting the sun? What happens when you are shooting a massive cavernous space with zero natural light? This is the lobby of the historic El Tovar Hotel at the Grand Canyon. I shot this at 1:30 a.m. at the very beginning of the COVID restrictions. The lobby was completely empty, and more importantly, it was pitch black. None of the lights were on, but here is the catch. Even at high noon, this room is a nightmare. There are no windows or skylights to provide ambient light. It is always a dark texture trap of heavy log walls and ceiling beams. To capture this massive scale properly, I used a specific perspective trick. I dropped my camera down low, so the lens was only about 27 inches off the floor. This low perspective, paired with an ultra-wide 12mm to 14mm focal length, works extremely well for interior real estate. It makes the space feel vast without severely distorting the vertical lines of the walls. To fix the pitch black exposure, I shot deep brackets. When we merged those files, we pulled off a massive data rescue. In fact, the shadows were so deep that I didn't even know there was a massive buffalo head mounted on the wall until the software merged the files. HDR didn't just fix the exposure, it revealed the architecture. Try these techniques on your next interior shoot and watch how much grander your spaces look. Next time, in our final episode, we are taking the wide-angle lens to the night sky to capture an image of the Milky Way. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll see you in the next one.